Okay, at this point, we're starting unit number 11. Want to make sure you see a couple of things here that we're going to be doing. So as you can see here, we're going to be using Google Drawings. And I'm going to scroll down here till we get to what this thing's going to look like, just to give you an idea as to what we're doing here, okay? So as you can see, we're going to be working on our drawing. We're going to have two things up at the top, and then we're going to have three in the center and three on the bottom, and you see how these are sort of separated there. Okay, I wanted to make sure that you saw how we were spacing these lines, because now we're in Google Drawing. You can see Google Drawing right here. And so we've got a page that is 7.5 inches tall. Well, the first thing it tells us to do is to change the background color to something we like. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to right click on Google Drawing. I'm going to come to background, and that's where they hide background color. Okay, so I'm going to something really simple, a nice peach. Okay, next thing we're going to do, because we had 3 rows of objects, is we're going to put 3 lines across this to help guide making our boxes so that it looks nice and even. So I'm going to come over here to View, Guides, and I'm going to add a horizontal guide. Okay, so it slapped down some horizontal guides for us. Great. Now we want to know where to put them. It's 7.5 inches tall. We're going to go ahead and divide 7.5 by 3. And that's going to be really easy. We're just going to open our calculator right there. Give it a second to actually start. And if it doesn't start, I'll just tell you the answer. Okay, 7.5 divided by 3. So we know that we want 2.5 inches on each of these guides. Let's go ahead and close that for a minute. So I'm going to go to this guide here, and you see where it turns to the double line and the arrows pointing up and down. And I'm going to move that. Let's go to this first, okay, the top one. The reason I want to go to this one is because I want it to start at 2.5, okay? Come down here, 2.5. So this one will go to 5. There it is at 5. This center one here, to be honest, it's doing nothing for us, okay? Just so you know. Next, we're going to do these guides here. So it's 10 inches wide. We have one in the center. Great. And you can see that they've got these broken down already. So if you don't have it laid out just the way I've got mine, notice that this one is at 2.5. Okay. And then another. So let's make sure we got that. So we're going to break this into something that will be 4 boxes wide and will be 10 inches. So that's 2.5. 5. This one should be closer to about 7.5. There we go. Now that one's right. Now they're all correct for us. Good. So the next thing we're going to do is start making our boxes. Come up here. I'm going to click on Shape, Shapes, and I'm going to select the rounded rectangle. I'm going to come right over here. I want to leave a tiny bit of peach around the edge here. I don't want my boxes right against the edge. It just doesn't look good. Keep in mind, a lot of the aesthetic decisions that I'm making are based on also teaching Photoshop, which we'll be doing later. Okay, there we go. We got a box. Now I'm going to fill it with a color. What color am I going to fill it with? Green. Good. Okay, now I'm far too lazy to do this a bunch of times. So now that I've drawn this box, I'm going to copy it. Control C, Control V. Have that box. Move it over to here, a little bit off that edge. And now you see that red line that went through the middle there? That was telling me that I was centered to this box right here. Great. We're going to copy it. Control V. We can do this again. This time we're putting it right here. Now this is telling us we're dead center on our document. Perfect. Control V. And we're doing it once more underneath of this one. And again, that red line going down the middle telling us that we're nicely centered. Release. Done. Okay. We're almost done. Control V. This one here, you're going to say, wait a minute, that's way too wide. You're right, it is. So I'm going to come over here to the edge. I'm just going to narrow that one down some. Bring it out here to where I want it. Oops. Leave that line where it's supposed to be. You see, now I'm lined up with this edge over here. It's a little bit too wide still, so I'm going to bring it in just a tiny bit. Now we got that peach. It's showing all the way around it. Good. Control C, Control V. Yeah, literally making these boxes will take us just a few seconds. Control V. Oops. Ignore that. Let's get it again. You notice that I need to have that 4-pointed cross visible for the move to work. Okay. Control V. And there we go. Okay, so we've now got that part done. We've drawn those boxes, and you can probably see. I'll show it to you in the okay on your canvas. computer screens, or sorry, your Chromebooks, or if you're doing this at home, you'll scroll back to the page that I showed that has this stuff here on it. Come on, this page here. And in this box right here is where we're going to do our first typing, okay? The very center box. And we're going to click in that box, and we're just going to type in tips for tracking your budget. Pick a font. Arial's kind of an ugly one. I'm going again with Breeze Serif. Kind of like that one. That one's cute. Okay, so what are we doing? Tips for tracking your budget. Okay, now obviously that text is too small, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my cursor over here, and I'm just going to select all of that right there, just like that. So I simply pressed the left one so that I'm sort of, I don't want any of the weird cursors. You see, you got that, you got that arrow. I want a standard, just that big tall cursor. I'm going to press and hold, drag it over those words, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make that, well, actually, I'll just tell you, I'm going to type in 44, just to let you know. 44. That's obviously not right because it's not centered. No big deal. We're going to come up here to the centering tool, alignment tool, center. And on this one, we can also be very clear that we want it aligned in the up and down direction too. Okay. So now we have that one done. Now let's go back and look at and see what the rest of the directions are telling us to do. Okay. So coming back over here, change the background, the color. That was number 3. We did that. Number 4, use the rectangle shape to enter 8 rectangles. Resize and align the rectangles to the size as shown. We did that. Okay. So in this spot, we might be able to use the word art, but it's not really going to do us a lot of good. So the way we did it will work fine. Now, up here in rectangle number 1, we're going to type in, and again, let's go ahead and make sure we stick to the same font throughout, but let's probably just going to increase that to about 16. I'm in this cell right here, and record expenses. Now, you notice normally when we type, we start from the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to come to here and we're going to align that to the top and see how it looks when we're done. Record expenses. And I believe I've given you the text for this in the question. So let's go have a look at that. Okay, so let's go ahead and open project 11 right here. And we can see the text. So to save you a little bit of typing, I'm just going to, oops, that was a little bit too much. Let's try that again. As I've mentioned to you in the past, sometimes I find going from right to left works better for selecting, Control-C. And so I'm going to come back over here, Control-V, Control-V. Okay, what went wrong is I didn't click in it. Okay, that's kind of ugly. We may not want to do that. Let me just see if there's an easy way to fix the format. Like I click right here, I click on Format Painter, and I drag that Format Painter over everything I just brought in. Okay, so I don't think we've used the Format Painter much before. I don't remember if we used it in anything in Excel. What the Format Painter allows us to do is it looks at the format under what we are on. See, I've got the cursor there. I click on it, and then I can paint that format over other text. And so you can see how the Format Painter is used right there. Okay, let's go down to rectangle number 2. Okay, in rectangle number 2, I'm just going to, again, start here, think ahead. Ahead. And I want to use this format over here, so I'm just going to click right there to save myself some formatting effort and drag that right over that. And there we go, think ahead. Good. Okay, now we're going to come over here and we're going to click there, hit enter. And let's go back and get our text, which I gave you right here. Remember, I find it sometimes easier to start from the right and go right to left, Control-C. Even though we're reading the other direction, Control-V. And that's ugly, so I click here. I click on Format Painter. I'm trying to make sure I show you guys the easiest possible way to get this done. Okay, and so they're formatted the same, looks quite consistent. So we're now in rectangle number 3. I'm just going to click in rectangle number 3 and type in Use Technology. I'm going to copy this format, using the same format all the way through. This makes it very easy to make sure that we are using the same format all the way through, and it has a little bit of a consistent appearance. Coming back over here, because I don't think any of us feel like typing in a bunch of stuff. Remember, if you prefer to type this in and to copy it, you are perfectly free to type it in, as long as you keep up with the class. Okay, up here, good. Format Painter. Have a concern, we might run out of space. Okay, we ran out of space here. So what we're going to do here instead is we're going to make these a little bit here, and we'll also have to make the text over here a tiny bit smaller. So we're going to go ahead and here, instead of going to 16, we're going to go ahead and make this text right here 14. We'll see if 15 will fit. But remember, we did it one place. We need to do it everywhere, okay? Note, I'm not changing the little title there, just the text. The key is to remain consistent. In fact, it would actually work to increase the size there. We'll fix that in a minute. Okay, now I'm over here on this one. Rectangle 4, make a list. Over here, click on that. Click on Format Painter. Try and get that so that it's just the Format Painter. There we go. Looks like the T didn't come over very well. So I'm going to, again, make another stab at it and make sure I get that letter T, because I feel like I didn't get the letter T very well. There we go. Now we got it. Okay, enter. And let's go get our text. When you go shopping, make a list. Or you do like me, you sit out in the car and read while somebody else does the actual shopping. That way I can't just throw impulse stuff in the shopping cart. Control V. Okay, Format Painter. Drag that over. And there we go. When you go shopping, make a list. Good. And we're going to keep that up for the next 3 rectangles. So I'm going to pause this for a few minutes, though. Okay, while I was out, I was sort of fiddling around, seeing, and there's something we can do to give ourselves a little bit more room for text here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to this hyphen handle right here, press and hold the left mouse button down until I'm at that red line. I will do the same here. What that red line is telling me is I'm at the edge of the page. We do that same thing here. That red line is telling me that I'm at that line at the guideline, and I'm going to go down to the guide here too. The guide, okay? I can do the same thing on this one, okay? Grab that, take it to the guides. I think it's easier to grab these guys. Okay, till he stops. And you see when you get to a certain point, it's kind of where it's, and in Photoshop, the term we use is sticky, where it actually just stops a little bit on its own. Okay, I want to get here. Red guide there. I want to be there. I'm just resizing all of these just a tiny bit, okay? You can see those lines turning red as I'm working. And there's a reason I'm doing this, primarily to get a little bit more room to work with. To that guide. And to the guide. So I'll go red. There we go. And I'm going to do the same thing on these. I'll go to the corner here just to make it a little bit quicker. Okay, I want to go up a tiny bit. Oops, right there. Good. And we're going to come out. Now, like I say, the reason I'm doing this is to get them to come out a little bit more. Now, we're going to clean up the corners so that it doesn't look like they're uneven in just a moment, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. Very similar to how I do it in Photoshop. Here, and we'll do the same thing on these. I'm going to click on this. First thing I'm going to do is move it down that bottom corner. Of course, I can't see this one perfectly, and you can see that, right? Good. Good. Take that one down so it's in that, oops, so it's in that bottom corner. Increase the size of this whole thing just a hair. Just make it a tiny bit bigger. Now, to deal with the fact that they're sort of overlapping here and there on these, this one's not quite right. What I'm going to do is now select the box, come up here and choose the border color of the same color that I just worked with to make this thing, which I believe was this color here. And I'll go ahead and make that a 4-point border, just like we've used before. I'll do the same thing here, border color, and 4-point. And by doing that, it kind of still puts that blank area around it, so it pretty well looks like we're right on when we did this. Gives us just a little bit of room around it is all we're doing. One, select you, select you, select you. 4-point. And I'm just going to do a couple more. Okay. And 2 more. It's the wrong one. This one. And 4-point. And this one here. And same idea. Border. And 4-point. Okay, good. So there's still that little bit of edging around them. Good. Now we're just going to come to this one right here, like we've been working on it. And this one here, build a reserve fund. I'm going to go ahead. Remember what I was doing? I'm clicking here, Format Painter. Drag that line right over this here. That pops that right to the top. Enter. And then I'm going to go back and get the text. Have a reserve account. Okay, it looks like something went wrong here. So I'm going to Control C, Control V, and I'm going to have to go back and get that other little bit of text, okay? So come back over here, Control C, one, Control V. Good. We need a little space right there. I'm going to have to move this out of the way so you guys can see what I'm doing. Now, as you know, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to click on some text. I'm going to click on Format Painter. I'm just going to get rid of that. Okay. Next one is box number 6, Pay with Cash. Okay. Good practice, kind of sometimes. Basically what they're saying is make sure you have the money to buy stuff. Don't use your credit card for extra money. Even when you get it, when you have a credit card, quite simply, when you're in high school, get on your first job, and particularly when you get to college, a lot of people there trying to get you to sign up for credit cards. Why? Because they want your money. It's that simple. That they know that young people do tend to, when they've got a credit card, will tend to spend more than they earn. And the result is that they rack up fees. They, wind up with lots of fees they have to pay. They wind up with lots of interest, just the money charged to borrow money. And we'll look at that later on, just to let you know. And what's the last one here? Pay down your debts. And again, I'm just going to click there, up here, select there. Come on. There we go. Having trouble finding my cursor was all, as you saw. Okay. Don't just spend your excess cash. Use it to pay down money that you owe. Absolutely. Control V. Okay, now we've got this. Now we can start looking at things we can do to make it look a little bit better. I don't think that looks any better. Let's see here. So I clicked 3 times on this to select all of it. 18. Now you see how we're going off the table there. So it doesn't look very good. So we're going to leave that at 16. I think we could increase the size of these here, though. So let's take a look and see what happens when we bump these guys up to, but it's already at 16. Let's go to 24 and see how that looks, okay? 24. Let's take a look. Want to make sure it looks okay. I'm going to look down at these next because I don't want to get them all done and get down there and say, oh, that doesn't look good. Okay, yeah, you see that pushed us off down here at the bottom, and that doesn't look very good. So we're just going to make that smaller until that is back up there. And that put us right back at 18. Okay, which is bigger than 16. That looks good. Okay, okay, so we're going to go for 18 on all of these. Yeah, always look at the worst case one is relatively quickly, so you don't wind up doing everything and then saying, "Oh, that looks awful." When you get to the end and have to redo everything, always look at your worst case first. And in just a moment, we're going to go and yes, to answer the question, I could have also done that and that. Why didn't I? I don't know. I just didn't do it. Okay, so let's see what else. Okay, insert some graphic images that best illustrate the text on the poster. Okay, so we got room right here. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna come right about here. Draw a little text box. This time I'm drawing a text box. The text box, it doesn't show up the actual boundaries of the box, and in that I'm going to insert an image, search the web, record expenses. I'll just go with this one. That looks fine. Insert. Obviously, that it's going to be a lot smaller before we're done with it. There we go. And we're just going to move that to like right about there. Now, something we can do here with this object, because you can see it's in front of a bunch of stuff, right? And so I can go ahead and I can right click on that and I can select order and send to back. Oops, because of the text. Okay, let's go back. Control Z. Let's try one. Order, send backward. Order. It doesn't want to do it. Okay. May not want to do what I want to do. Send backward. No. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what I wanted to do here was to move it so that the text was in front of it, but that would have required me to put the text in a text box, and that's not what the assignment had us do. So there, pay with cash. Sure, let's go ahead and come down to this one. We'll just insert another text box real fast. Here we can put in a bigger text box. I'm 90% sure we'll get away with something better there. Insert image, search the web, and we'll come down up here, pay with cash. And yeah, that one looks good. We'll go with it. Sure. Insert. And again, we're going to have to make that a lot smaller. And we'll just grab that guy and move him to like right there. Oops, still too big. So you can go ahead and put any pictures you want here. You might want to change the size and font of the text. Just make sure the text doesn't get too small, okay? Right now, our text, as you can see, is 16. Don't go smaller than 12. Okay, so there's plenty of room here to stick in some little pictures or whatever you feel could illustrate this. But basically, that's Project 11, and that's using the Google Drawing tool.